Good evening. I'd like to call the Town of Rocky Hill Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting to order. What we have is the notice for the public hearing was at 6:30. So what we will do is we are going to look at other items on the agenda and then start the public hearing at 6:30 as advertised. That makes sense? Kim, is that a?
Yes, because I apologize for that.
Oh, that's fine.
that error.
So
What can I say?
for today, all right, let me. I'd like to go to item 2 on the agenda. Going to item 3, the public comments. Anyone who would like to address to the commission?
Bless you.
I wear a mask. Ed Ciccarello, 40 Riverview Road. I have a one-pager, if I could hand it out, Chairman? Yes?
Yes.
Oh, can I have one of those? Sorry, thank you. Tonight, you have the issue of the foundry on the agenda, and I wanted to speak to that, and I wanted to
On the agenda.
talk about the process. I know that when you approve something, after it's approved, it goes to staff, and then the staff deals with changes. In your regulations, you have minor changes and you have major changes. And a minor change would be something that does not significantly impact the project. But at every minor change, there should be a report to this commission in regards to what that minor change was. Now, a plan was submitted in regards to the River's Edge in August of '22. And that plan, to my understanding, went to the town manager. After that, the town planner, Kim Ritchie, sent a letter to the developer stating that the minor change in September was approved. You have that letter, I think, in your packet. After that, the issue went to the town council, and the attorney, Eric Parker, presented to the town council on in November 21st. Now, I don't believe this commission has been involved in any of that. And that's one of my concerns, is that you are the land use commission. And the town council, I know, has created an agreement with the foundry developers. That was in 2013. And a lot of water has gone under the bridge since then. So my concern is that this is not a minor change, it's a major change. I created this, and I just want to go over a few things. I believe it's a major change, and I believe that the developer should be coming in front of this commission to request a formal amendment as stated in your regulations. You have 5 criteria why it should be a major change and not a minor change. A change of use is one of them. Building number 5, if you look at it, was known as the Maritime Center. It was supposed to have a town space of 1,000 square feet. Now, it's called a pool, a clubhouse with a fire pit amenity areas. So I believe that is a major change. Another criteria for a major change is expansion. This revision goes from 2.5 to 3 stories. The buildings 1, 2, and 3 are all increased by 2,100 square feet. The total residential units goes from 85 to 90. And the original, by the way, that was agreed upon by the town council was 78 units. So we've gone from 78 units to 90 units. And parking has increased by 47 spaces. Now, I understand in the email, in the letter that Kim has given to you, that parking and the building height was taken care of in other permits. We have invested up in about $670,000 into this project. The town of Rocky Hill has invested. In 2014, the town council agreed to own the park, that we should own the park. There is a lot that needs to be discussed. This is the place for it, not the town council. I ask that you ask the developer to come in and present to you, and that you look at this plan, this revision again. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, do you want to respond, or? Oh, you, okay, sorry.
We'll be going through it again.
Huh?
We'll be talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
We got time.
I was just going to say, we do.
Charlie Wisnowski, 670 Old Main Street. I'm following up on what Ed had to say. I support River's Edge. I want the development to be done. Earlier, I had been against it. That's 15 years ago. The 2013 approval divided the neighborhood in friends. Some were for it and some were against it. The Planning and Zoning file has written correspondence in public meeting minutes of extensive public participation. Since 2013 until recently, there was a Tulisano Park Committee created by various mayors of the town of Rocky Hill, all of which included participation of many town departments. At this time, it's been disclosed that there have been changes in camera, without public knowledge or participation. I'm not knowledgeable enough to say that these changes are minor. Who's going to determine that? Where are the requests and the approvals for changes? What are the revisions? Where are the full 24-inch by 30-inch plans? Why does alternate site development plan number 8, and I don't know if this is something you people are in possession of, it doesn't have any stated revisions on it, but an earlier one from prior 2 years had 5 revisions listed on it. Whatever is in front of you to be decided by the planner, who has a big burden, has been very cooperative with the neighbors, you need to step back and say, something's happened here. And a lot of the participants, in the old days, we used to have dozens of people here in front of you, or they wrote to you, and they all have a very strong interest in this. The height of the buildings was a very large concern, parking, etc. And at one time, the last planning and zoning meeting, I believe, regular one, it was on your agenda, and we believed that there was going to be a legal review. And apparently there isn't a legal review as to whether these are minor changes or not. I think a legal review should be done to take the burden off of you, take the burden off the planner. I question, is this a valid plan anymore? We don't know what all the revisions are. There's been an evolution that I don't understand. I support it, but I want the process to be a process that we have confidence in, and one in which the public knows that as they participate, come, use their time, express their opinions, and some of which may be different from the person that lived next door and may live next door for a long time, that we have the confidence in you as a group, and you as a group changes. So whatever is in the file should be clear. And whatever is the current understanding of what is happening out there needs to be resolved in a way in which we who have been involved for 25 or 30 years with this property understand. The majority of the neighborhood wants it. The town wants it. I don't understand how we got to what it is today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address to the commission on any items? Seeing none, we'll move on.
Did you want me to address, I know I had requested the legal opinion. We have not received that as of yet. I did that after the January meeting. There may have been an issue at the December meeting. I wasn't present at that time, but after the January meeting, I did put in a request for legal opinion. I have not received that as of yet.
So if you can please follow up and see.
I will.
Yep,
I will talk with
and
the
just
town
let us
manager.
know, yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Item 4A, meetings and actions.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Any abstention?
We have, I have a
None.
comment.
Oh, you have comments?
Yeah, the minutes are incorrect. They say at the last meeting, there was a discussion about the Foundry project, and I went back to the video, and that was discussed at, I'm really technical here, 4 hours and 4 minutes into the meeting. And there was, this was up, and there was no discussion at the December 21st meeting. So this is when it was discussed at the January meeting, and there was no discussion. In fact, that was the one that Ed Sobolak sat in
Yeah, I
for Tim.
believe that was discussed at that meeting when Steve Sepulveda.
He said, what he said was, I just found out about this meeting
Oh,
this
okay.
morning, so I'm not prepared to,
Okay.
with anything. So there was no discussion whatsoever.
Yes, I think I may have told him afterwards, like what it was. Okay.
So this
So I'll have to,
this should probably be, I don't know if we want to table the approval
okay.
so that it can be,
Yep.
we can look at the videos and it can be corrected.
So we'll table the, can I have a motion?
Motion to table the consent agenda item A.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So the seated members are Commissioner Aglico, Commissioner Zarelli, myself, Commissioner Morhos, and Commissioner Robbins. Let's table,
Since we're
maybe we'll,
20 after 6, we're pretty close to 6:30. Do you want to just take
we'll
10
go,
minutes into the meeting, we're having a recess. I'm going to recommend a motion for a 10-minute recess till 6:30.
can I say-
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Just because the
Timing is everything.
I would like to call the town of Rocky Hill, huh? Oh,
Motion to come out of recess.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to call the public hearing to order. Item 1A.
Special permit site applications for JM Properties LLC proposing to convert an office building to a mixed-use building, office and 59 apartments, studio, one-bedroom, two-bedroom with a 10% affordable, with associated site improvements for property located at 1344 and 1360 Silas Dean Highway in an RC Commercial Zoning District ID 01-001.
We have applicant to present.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. My name is Eric Parker. I'm the attorney representing the applicant, JMM Properties. Let me just introduce the group. The good news is I'll have the design professionals talk to you mostly. You won't have to listen to me too much tonight. But let me just introduce who's sitting here behind me. Joe Maruzzi is the principal at JMM Properties. He's the owner of the building. We have Bob Rolls from BL Companies, who prepared many of the site plans you have there. We also have John Wicko, he's the architect, along with his associate Tom, who's here, who did all the elevations and things like that that are part of our application packet. You should have the letter, I addressed it to Ms. Ritchie with the criteria that we have to meet on this special permit application. I don't want to go through a lot of that because I did already give you those factors in writing, but I just want to hit a couple of the high points on that before I turn it over to the design professionals to talk about that.
Yeah, I think for the process, so people who are watching, if, for their awareness, if you can just go through.
Go through
Yeah.
all of it? Sure.
Yep.
Of course.
Thank you.
So Section 9D2 has a number of requirements that have to be met for this type of application. First, let me just familiarize you with the structure and what we're talking about here. This is 1344, 1360 Silas Dean Highway. It's the office building that sits behind the Wendy's right near the Weathersfield town line. It's constructed in 1984, approximately 50,000 square feet. At this point, there are 2 parking decks, and the rest is in use as office space. As I gave, many of you heard when I was here on a text amendment last fall, the purpose for the text amendment to this zone was just a lack of need for this type of space, large commercial office space, as what we find in this building. The demand is just not there. It has not returned since COVID. And when Mr. Maruzzi was looking at replacing some tenants who recently vacated 2 full floors of the building, he couldn't even find a broker who had any hope of taking the listing and finding a tenant. So we started thinking about other uses, which is what brought me here for the text amendment application and now for this application as a result of that happening. We're proposing to convert the upper parking deck and first 2 floors from office space into studio, 1 and 2 bedroom rental apartments. 10% of those will be designated affordable. We don't have specific units, and we haven't drafted the legal documents for that, so we understand that'll be a requirement as this plays out and we begin the actual putting a shovel in the ground and building. We anticipate we understand we'll have to identify specific units for that requirement and have the deeded documents approved by council for the town to be filed on the land records. We have gone through the special permit criteria, which is in my submission as Exhibit B. The first is suitable location for the use. Certainly, if you look just at the certificate of mailing, you can see the other properties that are around this area. It's a very commercialized area in the RC zone. This is a building that not only will have easy access to transportation, it has easy in and out, and it's a less burdensome use on the property. As I joked to Joe when we were preparing for this, everyone that I've told about this application said, "Oh, that's that ugly building right off the highway." No offense to the owner sitting behind me. But if you look at the pictures, one good thing is the ugly building right off the highway is about to become, with your approval, a whole lot less ugly. And one of those factors is that the improvements are appropriate and will fit into that zone. And we think if you look at the elevations that Mr. Wicko and his team prepared, that's certainly something that we will accomplish through this application. The next factor is suitable transportation conditions. Right on a bus line, we do have an OSTA permit that was existing for the site. It's a signalized intersection. The current plan to change to the residential use with one floor remaining as office space, we would actually drop down below the OSTA requirement. So if this was a blank lot, we wouldn't necessarily have an OSTA permit. We have an existing one. So we've applied to OSTA. That application is pending. Our suggestion to OSTA was actually to pull the permit. That's no longer necessary. They may modify it and give us some conditions. We're fine with whatever they do, and we understand that that'll be a condition moving forward. We do have adequate public utilities to the site. Bob Rolls from BL Company, who is here, will be talking about some of those issues as well. But water, sewer, gas, electric, all those are in place and already in use for the office. And as we said, the residential use will be less burdensome. As far as environmental protection and conservation, we think this is a much less burdensome use of the site. We've proposed some recreation and areas in green space. We've proposed making this a walkable site, an outdoor mail area with a pathway that leads people down to the Silas Deane Highway, to the other shops, to the bus line, making this walkable. We've also significantly reduced the impervious area on the site as well. As for long-term viability, it's just the reason we're here. We believe this is the future for these buildings. And as I said when I was here for the text amendment application last fall, I won't be surprised if you see similar applications in other parts of town. The nice thing here is this is the only building that we're aware of in the RC zone that would make any sense to do something like this. We've seen across the country a lot of these office to apartment conversions, malls to apartment conversions, other large spaces being converted. This is, as I sort of pitched it last year, the town dipping its toe in the water. And we're going to put together a first-rate building where apartments can provide a much more reasonable use compared to the office space, which we think will likely lay vacant. And obviously, there's tax implications and other implications of that as well. Those are the criteria. Finally, just consistent with overall objectives, we think it definitely fits in the zone and fits with the plan of conservation and development and all the other factors just based on the use, the design, and all the other criteria that you have there in front of you. We did meet the other regulations. I've sent to town staff our certificate of mailing. There's, I believe, 10 property owners within 500 feet, the abutters. There's only actually 5 owners of those 10 properties. They've all been notified as required. And then the last requirement is that we paid the fee, which we did. So I'm going to turn it over now. Mr. Chairman, unless you have any other questions for me, I'll turn it over to Bob from BL Companies, and he has the presentation for you if you have questions.
Yeah, we'll let your team do the presentation.
They'll do their thing, and I can come back if you need me. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. For the record, Robert Rolls, the engineer of record for this project. I'm also a principal engineer with BL Companies. The site's address is 1344 Silas Deane Highway. As has been mentioned, the site is RC Regional Commercial Zoned. The site is accessed through a signalized intersection at Silas Deane Highway and Town Line Road. That is, for more visual folks or for the benefit of the public, the entrance and exit to the site is directly opposite of Town Line Road, such that if you are leaving Wooden Tap or any of the businesses in Town Line Plaza, heading towards Silas Deane Highway, you're looking at the site when you're waiting at that intersection, that signalized light, waiting to go left or right onto Silas Deane Highway. Should you choose to go forward, you're going onto the site. The site is currently landmarked by Wendy's Restaurant and what has already been referred to as an unattractive building.
Excuse me, Robert, are
Yes.
you seeing something, they're not seeing something on this side? So,
I'm sorry?
okay, the commission, is there something shown on the other side of the screen?
Yeah, it's on my
Okay.
screen here,
Do you-
too.
Okay, but you're not looking at it here?
No, we have it here.
Okay, okay,
Do you have it?
okay.
So they have it on the other side.
I just want to make sure.
Oh, yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's, yeah,
okay.
for the public, yes, yeah.
I didn't know if it was there.
Do you have it?
The site is 2.7 acres and consists of 3 parcels. The first parcel is the 0.57 acres, which is the existing Wendy's. That would be on your right-hand side as you go into the entrance, if you're at that intersection like I just mentioned. We're not proposing any demolition to this parcel, and the only improvements to the site are related to the addition of a bike rack and restriping of an ADA parking stall. The second and third parcels have a combined area of 2.12 acres and are currently developed with the 5-story office building and associated paved parking area. We have 4 distinct civil site construction areas within these parcels that I want to step you through with the plan that's shown on the screen here. The first of which is located to the left or to the north, the top left area of the plan sheet that we're looking at here. We are proposing the removal of 27 parking spaces and an associated drive aisle. We'll be moving that drive aisle to the north along the boundary of the property, which is also the Rocky Hill Weathersfield town line. And we're expanding the existing landscaped island by roughly 7,000 square feet. The new island will consist of mostly lawn, planted area, and some concrete sidewalk, patio area with a decorative trellis, a couple decorative trellises, and a central mail center. The island will also be decorated with 4 trees and various flower and bushes plantings as shown on our landscape plans. If we proceed, oh, I lost a drawing here. If we could bring up that same drawing, yeah. So if we proceed to the right or to the east on this drawing sheet, we approach our second work area. We are proposing some minor site improvements to the dumpster pad area and removal of an existing ramp structure leading to the second floor parking deck. New concrete dumpster pads will be constructed, and each dumpster will be furnished with full enclosures. The area directly beneath the removed parking deck ramp will become part of the patio mail center island and part of an additional drive aisle. Other improvements to that area include a bike rack and a minor amount of concrete sidewalk and ramp. If we go a little further to the right on the plan sheet along the top of the property or the north of the property, we are proposing the removal of 8 parking spaces that will be replaced with lawn area. These spaces exist within the Connecticut Light and Power easement, and if we go just a little bit further to the right, you'll see where parcel 3 is, which is a less than 4,800 square foot parcel, and it's intended to remain as is. That's all of the proposed civil site work for the north section of the site. The fourth and final work area is to the south and southwest of the site as it borders Interstate 91. Sandwiched between the highway and the site is a woody area. This is page bottom, or as you can see, Interstate 91 there marked bottom right-hand side of the drawing. Sandwiched between the highway and the site is a woody area and an existing wetland and water body known as unnamed tributary to Gulf Brook. We have submitted an application to the Rocky Hill Open Space and Conservation Commission this time last week. The application happened to be tabled, and we expect that the commission will find that our proposed project work will have no significant impact on the regulated area. We're quite confident in that fact based on the reason that we are not proposing any work within the wetlands, and the work we are proposing within the 100-foot upland buffer area reflects a net reduction of roughly 6,000 square feet of impervious pavement. The proposed work in that area involves removing 20 parking stalls and associated 24-foot wide drive aisle, again resulting in that 6,000 square foot pavement removal. The 6,000 square feet will replace primarily with lawn surface for proposed recreation area. That's the 4 work areas as far as the site is concerned. With respect to utilities, the site is obviously already a commercial and developed site. It's served by public utilities. There's a 12-inch water in Silas Deane Highway. There's a 30-inch sanitary in Silas Deane Highway. There are no reason to believe that any future utility needs for the property could not be met by the infrastructure that's already in place. And given the nature of the proposed site work and the fact that we are proposing a slight reduction in impervious area by the creation of the, what I'll call the Mail Center Island and the island in the 100-foot wetland buffer area, or the recreation area, rather, we are not proposing altering any of the existing drainage patterns or on-site collection systems in any way. We have consulted with the Public Works Director, and there is no known history for his 22 years in town. There's no known history of flooding in the area. I have been to the site several times. I've looked in the drainage structures and don't feel that there's any immediate needs for any repairs or replacement of those. So overall, I share in the opinion that this project offers a significant improvement to the site. And with that, I'll turn it over to architecture so they can talk more about the building itself.
Good evening. John Wicko, architect for Joe Maruzzi, office at 58 Prospect Street in Milford. And you're looking at the elevation of the newly transformed, beautiful building with the improvements indicated in the plans. I can just describe, we have existing condition drawings, which you can study and better understand what is there. I think everything has been pretty clear in terms of the conversion. The only thing that I want to add to the conversion of the existing 5-story building is that the first floor on sheet A1 shows still parking under the building, and the left side is now being converted and added to in terms of area for a lounge, laundry room, fitness room, and storage facility. So we needed to maximize some space, and we had ample parking, so we decided to create the first floor as a secure covered, but with a secure entrance to the cars that would lease those spaces. The second floor, which is the parking level, the existing parking level 2, would be converted to residential 19 units. As the third floor and fourth floor, those floors would each have 20 units within them. And there's a pretty even breakdown of 15 studios, 32 one-bedroom, and 12 two-bedroom units, totaling the 59 that we're presenting. So just to quickly go through, the third, as I said, the third and fourth floors will be the residential, and the fifth floor will remain as part of the mixed-use building, as there is a lease agreement that's in place, and the developer, Joe, would like to keep that and is proposing to keep that as office moving forward. The elevations, which I guess the rendering would be fine to bring up. The improvements to the building itself, currently on the existing conditions, we show ribbon windows and a pebbled aggregate stone panels that are used for the facade. All of that material will be removed. It's aging and it's starting to fail. So we are going to remove that material and introduce an EIFS siding, which with a stone type veneer. It's a newer style that fits well with this panelized system that we're showing on the third, fourth, and fifth floors. The first and second floor, which was the old garage, we are enclosing. The lower level will have glass at the living area, which is on that, for the fitness center and lounge area. And the parking, we have designed some metal mesh that is architectural panel that'll be fitted into the openings as they are today. And the second floor will be full curtain wall glass that'll finish off the base of the building. And then the third, fourth, and fifth floors will have the architectural ephes, that stucco material, with a couple elements, sunshades at the corners, bay windows to bring some scale to the building, while keeping the existing brick stair and elevator towers, which are two. There's one in the front and in the back of the building. And that would complete the renovation. The building height doesn't change. It's at 60 feet. But we are adding all the architectural features to modernize the building and beautify it. We also have in our architectural package those elements for the mail center and the park trellis, which is part of the walkway system to Silas Dean. Those are drawn and rendered in a timber style, with ephes in the mail center having a brick base and inserted mailboxes. And we also have a feature for secure parcel deposit and pickup through a door into a room. That works very well. We've done that many times in other projects. And the trellis, just an open trellis used for leisure and recreation in that park-like setting. That's everything on our drawings. I can certainly answer questions, but that gives you a good overview of what we're thinking and how we're doing it. Thank you.
If there's any questions, Mr. Chairman, from the commission, I think that's our presentation.
All right. Go to, anyone in the public who like to address to the commission on this proposal? Anyone? Don't see anyone? All right, I will go to the commissioners. Commissioner Zurelli?
Couple questions. One, are you going to have any signage on the building, like representing what the building's going to be called, or?
Yeah,
And I think that will remain renovated if we needed to.
yeah. Currently, there's a sign there that we would reuse. Probably retext it and update the quality of it, the graphics. But I think the building is still called the Meadows.
The Meadows.
Yeah, it's still the Meadows.
remain the same.
So it kind of fits with the residential use and the mixed use. So that'll remain the same.
You have a generator on site that's staying?
Uh,
That's all coming out?
That's United Ways.
Oh, so that's not yours. And then thirdly, is the building going to be empty when you do all the renovations, or are you going to have people in it while you renovate? Commercial?
yeah.
Joe Maruzzi, and I'm the owner of the building. And yes, the top floor is leased out to multiple office tenants, and we'll be able to keep them there as well with minimal disturbance. Mainly, everything is below.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Vlico?
Mechanicals, like heating and air conditioning, is there going to be rooftop units, or?
Yeah, at this point, it looks as though we're going to put everything on the roof. And so the extra rooftops that are there that aren't no longer needed will be removed.
So are they going to be visible from the street?
They're not really, no, because there's already a curtain around the building. So we'll put it within the curtain.
Okay. Victor asked a question on the generator, that was my second question, so I'm good.
Thank you.
Mr. Hussain?
I think just a couple of questions. I think one of them was just answered. For the mail center, I think that was not only mail, but packages as well? There's enough adequate space for packages to be delivered in that mail center?
Yeah, Commissioner, that's quite a big area where we took that one driving ramp out and changed that over to that center. So it's a pretty large area, and it's part of our sort of walkability of it. So there is quite a sufficient amount of space in that one area with that intent that we want people out walking on the site and using it in that sense, not just getting in their cars and disappearing.
Okay. And the other question I had, Attorney Parker, you could probably address this one. In terms of the affordability component of the overall scheme, can you just kind of briefly touch on that a little bit?
So our commitment is to 10% affordable units, which meets what you all propose as an amendment to our text amendment, which we're happy with. Typically, what happens is you have to designate specific units for that, and the idea being that you don't have an affordable housing wing in an otherwise occupied building. So we'll have to identify those units, and they'll be deed restricted. And then obviously there's the whole affordability factor that we have to it's a moving target. So we'll have to put in the language from the affordable housing statute so that the calculation can be made in the future, because obviously this will continue to be rented and re-rented. We're going to have to get counsel for the town to sign off on what's going to be recorded, but it'll be a deed restriction. It will identify specific units so that we can make up that 10% commitment.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Commissioner Lecco?
Yeah, I have a question about pedestrian circulation in this area. So you've got commercial space now, you're going to have residential space. I'm guessing that there's probably going to be more pedestrian traffic here. And, you mentioned that, it's in an area that lends itself to that. So how are you going to improve the pedestrian movements from the building to the existing sidewalks?
Well, I can let the design professionals talk about that too, but one of the biggest things is that area where the mail center is, that new sort of greenway walkway to connect it. And that was an important part of this project to us. Yeah, come on up, John, you can talk about it, but that was important that it be connected to the neighborhood and not be an office building where you're walking across the parking lot.
Yeah, we designed with BL Companies that island, the mail center park with the trellises. The sidewalk does go from Silas Dean through the park, branches off to the mail center and goes to the building. So, and also we have the recreation area for pedestrians that they can, walk through the site and use that area. But there's a physical connection, sidewalks to that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that wasn't clear, but thank you for clarifying.
Done.
That's it.
All right. Commissioner?
To be honest with you, I really don't have any additional questions. Everything's pretty much been covered. But I'll just say I didn't think that building was all that ugly right now.
But the new one looks nice. Will you give us that?
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah. I'm the only one. Well, I grew up in New York, so you know. That's it.
I just couldn't tell from the diagram how that traffic's going to flow under the new layout. As far as moving around the building, big vehicles coming on and off the property safely.
Yeah, let's see if we can bring up the Civil 1 drawing again, if we could. We do have a truck turning plan as well, so there's really no changes to the fire apparatus movements. They can't get around the entire building as it is now. They won't be able to do that in the future. I was actually looking for the Civil 1.
One more.
Next one back.
The Civil 1 SP graphic is probably better. The first file, I think. Yeah, one file over to the left.
We'll go to next tab.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay. All right. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Just the flow on and off the property.
So as it is right now, you've got your main entrance. That's going to remain. And then as you pull into the site, if you were entering the office building now, say to park on the second floor, you would take that left where there's a 24-foot or so wide drive aisle. We're going to move that drive aisle all the way off to the northern border where the Rocky Hill Weathersfield line is, and then take out that parking and create that middle landscaped aisle. So you'll have two-way traffic through that northern drive aisle, which is located at the top of the page. And if you follow the pavement marking arrows, you can see you have two-way traffic all the way back to parcel 3, which is that little triangle in the upper right-hand corner of the lot. You'll have two-way traffic south behind the building along Interstate 91. You will not be able to get from that area there to the front of the building without going back the way you came, out to that two-way aisle to the north. And then you'll have the same traffic circulation for the existing lease parcel, which is Wendy's, and the same parking circulation that you have existing in the front of the building to the right or to the south. To access the lower parking garage, you'll be entering from the south area. Does that fully answer your question? It seemed a little rambly.
Yeah, and then I guess the other is just what, in your turnaround plan, where would that turnaround area be?
So we have we did a fire truck turning plan. We didn't do individual ones for any passenger cars or anything like that, but that is.
It's a good size vehicle, yeah.
In the civil site plan, which is Civil 2 file, if you turn to sheet TT1, that's our. There you go. So that green path there highlights a full-size ladder truck maneuvering the site. It doesn't change from the existing condition, the fire truck, because even though the parking lot's open in the, I'll say the lower right-hand corner of the building, they can't get under there because it's only 6'6" clearance under the parking garage canopy that exists there, and that's not changing. So the fire truck movements don't change at all here.
Okay.
And obviously, the entrance to the site is it's pretty wide curb cut, so there's no concerns there.
All right, that's all I have.
Did you ever think about going all the way around so that we could get apparatus all the way around?
It would require taking part of the building down. The idea is to kind of upcycle the building, I think, here, for lack of a better term.
Is there like an area for dogs or animals to go out and do their duty?
There's the two open space areas at the, looking back at the plan on the lower, I guess, southerly part of the triangle is that recreation area. Also all that green space around the mail area, and up in the, just along I-91 there, that area where you were just talking about with the fire truck couldn't get through, that area is going to be green space as well, so.
That's labeled as recreation area. Can you define recreation? What are you going to put in?
What we envision is, picnic tables, a place for people to get outside. I mean, we're contemplating that the use is significantly changing here, going from the office space to the residential. So we want to give the residential occupants, somewhere to get outside and, read a book on a nice day or take their dog out or something like that. So we are trying to, have that be part of the plan.
Okay. Are you going to have any park benches in that northern part where the mail stop is, or?
I don't know if there's nothing in the plan specific, but that's our connection piece to, the rest of the world, as it were, that's our pedestrian link back across that driveway. So I don't know that we're, ruling it out in any way, but it's not on the plan as currently presented.
Okay. Lighting in the back, because that's a traditionally, and I know that area well, and it's very dark in the back. Is there any lighting or any provisions for increased lighting for safety?
We are adding a fixture.
Can you please come to Mike? Thank you.
We are adding or relocating a fixture in the mail center garden area, so that should be better illuminated. I don't believe we have any plans for additional lighting in that in the back area toward parcel 3.
Okay, because that mail area is in the northern part, right, to the left?
It's in the northern part toward
West.
the front of the site, yes.
But anything in the southern part, or the eastern part? Because lighting was poor back there.
I think we're going with the existing lighting that's out there right now. Yes.
And that was all converted to LED.
Yeah, John Wicko, yeah, that existing parking lot was well lit, and it has been converted to LED, so it's a better quality light than what it was previously. But the existing site lighting in that southern and eastern sections are to remain.
Okay. Is there one elevator, or is that two elevators?
Yeah, the building has two, one in the front of the building and one towards the rear, so there's two
You're going to use the
separate.
existing elevators as they are now, or are they going to be modified to make them a little bigger?
No, they're actually quite large, and residential requirements don't require anything large. But they are large enough for a stretcher, so it is, it works with the office, so it will also work with residential.
Okay. And you said there was no generator on site there, so is there like emergency lighting if the power should go off?
Yeah, the emergency light is local batteries. We don't have the building switched over to a generator, but
Okay.
it does meet all the fire standards.
Right, so there'll be no generator to power the elevators, it will have to be a walk-down kind of thing?
Yes, that's currently how it is. And
Okay,
that'll remain the same.
okay. Any accessible units there, any wheelchair accessible units for housing?
I can address that. Yeah, the units are designed per ADA and also the standards per the building code for the quantities of A-type, B-type units, and they have been laid out in that fashion.
How many?
I don't remember them offhand. I think it's 10% of the units, so that would be 6 are they're all Bs because they are accessible. So they're all B-type, and there's 6 A-type units, which have a more stringent and more barrier-free layouts.
And where are the standpipes, on which side? Which side are the standpipes on?
For plumbing,
Standpipes for emergency apparatus access? Your sprinklers?
the fire department connections
Yeah.
are, well, I believe there's 2 of them. It could be only one though, right, Joe, in the front?
Fire hydrants?
No, the fire
Siamese
fire
connections?
pumps, yeah, the fire
Siamese
department.
connections?
I-
Off the top of my head, I'm not exactly.
Yeah, I think it's on the front,
Are you going to leave both of them?
Oh, yes, that's right. There's one in the front,
yeah.
at the entry, on
Yeah.
the right side, at the main entrance. I know there's one there. I'm not sure if there's one in the back near the fire sprinkler room itself. Yeah, I think there is one there as well. I think there's 2.
And that would be in the eastern side, right?
East and west.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because there's one in the front right, to the right of the main entry, and there's one near the sprinkler room, near the gas area in the back.
Okay. And the front entrance to the building, is it a door style open?
Yeah.
Is that just one entrance in the front? Is that,
Entrance in the front, and there's also considered a main entrance in the back as well.
and how would you get into the back?
How would you get to the back? You can just, it's all accessible.
Okay.
Parking lot, there's going to be green area as
Okay.
well.
Okay,
Yeah, there's an equal amount of entry
Entry,
in the rear
okay.
and in the front.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Yeah, good.
All right, thank you. Just follow-up question on the affordable units. So you said they'll be designated?
Yeah, typically that's what the town will be looking for in this plan, is that we have some designation, either individual units or by floor or something along those lines. We'll work with council for whatever is required by the town to meet the standard.
Okay, because I think you designate 10% of
Correct.
the units, and rather than identifying like, unit A1 is.
There's different municipalities have done them in different
Okay.
ways. I've seen sample, encumbrances different.
Yep.
The concern is if you just say 10%, you could have, 10% in the basement that are your affordable and everything else. So usually there has to be some kind of spread through the floors or certain units designated, something like that. Yeah, and unit types as well, as John says. So we'll work,
Okay.
we'll get it approved by council for the town, whatever it is. We're committed to doing it. It's, just something that every municipality looks
Yep,
at it slightly different. We'll get the right thing and work with them to get it executed and recorded.
Yeah, I mean, I heard LED lightings and things like that. Other environmental features in your development, like,
I mean, the LED lighting is existing.
Yeah.
That's going to stay. Really, the proposed change is a much less burdensome use. We anticipate it'll reduce car trips without the office use. Obviously, the parking needs are going to be different, and the standards are such because it's residential. Reduction in the impervious, added green space. I think overall, this design is much less burdensome on the environment compared to what's there existing now, and not only makes a better use of the building, but does have a lot of those things, and certainly, through the design elements and things like that, those considerations will be taken into account.
any solar panels or anything like that?
Not enough room. You can't do, there's not enough room on the roof to do something like that, and there's not enough land to do it as well. But everything in the interior, whatever I could do, energy efficient, LED lighting, energy efficient, plumbing, et cetera, will be done.
Yeah, all the equipment is up to new standards with the new energy codes. So just by that fact, it's going to be far more efficient than what's there now.
I think that's it. Any other questions, anyone else?
We're going to table it until wetlands.
All right, can I have a motion, please?
Motion to table the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in
Oh, we-
favor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I second that.
May I inquire, Mr. Chairman, are you going to close the public hearing and table the action, or keep the public hearing open?
That was what I was going to ask. Do we close the hearing, or do we keep it, recess the hearing, not table it?
I'm sorry, yeah, recess.
Recess.
Until
Recess.
we
That was
find out,
my-
in case
my
there's any
fault.
major changes from the open space.
So we-
Okay.
We'll
Understood.
keep that public hearing.
I'll withdraw my second of that first motion.
We'll start
I'd
again.
make a motion to recess the public hearing.
I'll second
So
that one.
any differences and changes to the wetlands, from the Wetlands Commission, or the Open Space Commission.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item 5A.
Agenda item 5A, site plan application, Vessel RE Holdings LLC, proposing 31-bedroom apartments, with 9 apartments being designated as affordable in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-30G, along with associated site improvements for property located at 2369 Main Street, Rocky Hill, Connecticut, in a town center zoning district, ID 10-080.
So the public hearing has been closed, and this would be the discussion amongst the 5 seated commissioners. That would be Commissioner Zarelli, Commissioner Glico, Commissioner Mahose, Commissioner Robbins, and myself. Those are 5 seated commissioners. And these 5 commissioners will participate in the discussion. The alternates are just here to listen. So I'd like to open up the discussion.
We need a
We
motion.
have to have a motion.
I need, so we'll have a motion to, I think I'm going to make the motion, right? So I make a motion to deny the proposal without prejudice. And I think I have to say my reasons, right? So I'm not in favor of this development because the proposal failed to adequately design the site development to protect public interests in health and/or safety. In other words, the site plan as proposed cannot be constructed without substantial health and/or safety impacts as discussed below. The first item is the unsafe site egress and internal circulation, which is the traffic flow. The traffic flow on the property is poorly designed when it comes to truck movements in a safe manner. The design of the parking lot is such that there is no way a delivery vehicle, whether it be furniture delivery truck, Amazon delivery truck, UPS delivery truck, moving trucks, etc., can turn around and exit the site, meaning driver facing Route 99. The only option for these trucks is to exit in reverse, meaning back out on Route 99. Deliveries are made during various times of the day and evening, during daylight or in dark. Because of the lack of visibility while backing, there is more than mere possibility of accidents either in the parking lot and or with vehicles traveling on Route 99. The developer, as part of the public hearing, admitted to truck movement issues on site and have asked for a condition for approval. The solution offered does not provide a viable solution. I will give an example that corroborate our concern. There are tragic stats about kids and cars accidents while backing up. There is a stat about backovers at kidsandcars.org. According to the fact sheet on their website, over 60% of backing incidents involve a larger size vehicle, truck, van, SUVs. Kids and Cars reports that for some trucks, a blind zone can be as much as 50 feet. We may have diverse population living in these apartments, single parent with kid, to elderly couples, to individuals with disabilities and even mobility issues. I believe the concern is supported by sufficient evidence and is necessary to protect substantial public interest and safety. Second is environmental justice. The site development does not provide amenities that should be afforded to the households living at this development, such as sidewalks within the development, green space to relax, etc. COVID has changed our lives. Post-pandemic stress is one of the biggest health challenges, and work habits have changed. A lot of people work from home. During these unprecedented times, households need space to de-stress during the day without leaving the complexes. Having these amenities provide them with same type of access that they would enjoy if they were to live in a regular development. Similar to providing affordable housing under 8-30G, it is about providing equal access and opportunity to the households living in this development. This relates to the quality of life and public interest in health. The question to ask is, did Connecticut legislature intend to treat 8-30G developments differently than the regular developments when one considers some basic amenities in this type of developments? The third is transformer pad. There is inadequate design of what is required for this type of development at the site. Based on the type of development and number of units proposed and associated electrical load, it seems that a pad-mounted transformer will be required with an enclosure. If this is required, there may be loss of parking spaces because of the site constraints. The site plan has bare minimum parking spaces. The developer has not provided those details about where the transformer pad may be located if required and its impact on the parking spaces. Again, this is a safety issue that has not been considered and designed properly and included in the site plan. Those are my concerns and my reasons for.
I'll second the motion.
Can I second?
I'll second it.
I'll open up.
Will you want to have the seconder?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have very similar concerns. The public safety issues are, there's really no ability for delivery trucks of any kind, and they're not small trucks, to turn around. During the hearing, it was stated maybe there'll be two contiguous parking spaces vacant for them to turn around. But when you look at this, I did some research. The typical FedEx truck is 26 feet long, which is 8 feet longer than our parking spaces and 10 feet wide, which is about 1 1/4 of a parking space. So if you only have 2 contiguous parking spaces, that's still going to be pretty tight for a turnaround. We had a sketch with the indicating some turnarounds, but the vehicles that were drawn on that sketch were pretty much the size of either a small panel truck or a private, just an ordinary car. So that's a concern. UPS trucks are the same size, 26 feet long and 10 feet wide. We have moving trucks of all sorts. Emergency vehicles are 26 feet long. Those are a little narrower. Those are only 8 feet wide, but you need to access to get in and out of the trucks if you have to park it somewhere. There's also trash pickup. While the trucks will have, either the trucks will have to enter the property, or the trash people will have to carry the trash containers from the back of the back side. It's actually on the side, but toward the back of the building, all the way out to the street. And while they're parked out there waiting for all this, you're clogging up a whole lane of traffic. It's not a road where parking is allowed, so it's actually going to be a traffic lane that's going to be blocked by the truck. There's also concern about I know the requirement is 1 parking space per unit, but along with that, you have safety concerns. People are getting home in the middle of the night, and although the developer said that only 1 car would be permitted per unit, there's no way to enforce that. So if you have 2 people have a car, or you have a visitor, right away you've got one unit that doesn't have a parking space. And if they get home in the middle of the night, like 10 or 11 o'clock, and all the spaces are occupied, they have to park on either Garden Street or on Pratt Street, which are both a quarter of a mile away from this development. So that's a safety concern too, crossing the Silas Dean Highway I keep saying in the middle of the night, but I mean late evening. It's going to be dark. People aren't going to be planning on dressing with orange vests on, so that's a safety concern too. It's a minor one, but it's still something that could come up. That basically, you covered it very well. The backing up, the sight lines are fine if you're coming out straight, but if you have a 26-foot truck backing out of the property, the cab, I have other minor, which are vague safety concerns, which I won't get into. It's really not important. But you have, I will get into a little bit. You're going to have 30 people jockeying for parking spaces. If somebody has a visitor, I've lived in multifamily developments where I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you're going to get arguments in the parking lot. You're in my parking space, or you're not supposed to be there, and that's not a real public safety issue, but it's something to keep in mind. And this thing is just too dense for this property, and it's going to endanger the public in so many different ways that we can't even get involved in. We can't even predict in advance. And we only need 1 serious car accident you wouldn't want to be the person that's backing out and get into a serious car accident, maybe even a fatal accident. So then, anyhow, you covered it well, and that's my reason for voting for the motion to deny.
Thank you. Commissioner Zarelli?
Technically, the first and the second covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Based on the record, the applicant did not provide any specific alternatives for truck movements to move safely on site. Because the site is so compact, many assumptions have been taken into account that jeopardize the safety of vehicle and pedestrian movement on the site. Developer has not shown that proper truck and emergency vehicle movements can take place on the site and rely on adjoining roads to make these movements, which now creates a safety issue to the surrounding neighborhood. It ultimately comes down to all the movement and backing up on Main Street, and there was no real concrete way to move those size vehicles on site.
Commissioner Glico?
I concur with all the commissioners. One item that wasn't discussed was backing into the site. I've seen delivery trucks pull up and then try to back into the site. And in this case, they would actually have to take 2 lanes because they wouldn't be able to turn in the 1 lane. So I think that'd be a concern as well. I've seen it where people with moving trucks, they jump out and they'd be trying to stop traffic, and it's just hectic. So I think the concern of not having the ability to turn the vehicle on the property and safely exit is a safety concern as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I too, yeah, I'm still here. I too do support the motion. As you know, I think we provided ample proof in the discussion points here, but to provide some additional proof, we have in a public record that's presented to us as part of this proposal of reasons why our decision here is an important one and is proof that this current condition is not provide a safe proposed development due to the traffic flow patterns on the property. And these traffic flow patterns exist because of the intensity of trying to put a 5-story building and squeeze it into a half-acre lot with the minimal amount of parking that could only be accomplished by reducing the size of the parking spaces above our town's minimum requirement at 9 feet, where it's 8.5 feet. But to give some technical references to sources of proof for the decision about how unsafe backing is and the fact that this project is going to necessitate backing in an unsafe manner, we have in our record provided to us through testimony by Mr. Wisnowski from Connecticut Code Section 14243 that clearly says that no person shall back a vehicle unless such movement can be made with reasonable safety and without interfering with other traffic. So again, that's Connecticut Code Section 14243. It's important to note that a lot of parcel and delivery mail services, including the United States Postal Service and most likely FedEx and UPS, have no backing policies because they know how unsafe backing is, and people get hurt. People die, literally. You're backing up, you don't see a person, you don't see a child playing. And remember, on this property, there is no place for a child to play other than a parking lot. So, again, anything that accentuates the need to backing is a problem. Because of no backing policies, well, how do you do that on this property with a delivery organization that's telling their employees don't back up unless it's safe, and if it's not? So the only option would be to pull a vehicle over on the side of the Silestine Highway, and now you're blocking a whole lane of traffic to avoid backing. So you create another safety hazard. So combine that with the fact that emergency services, as we know, and they stated that this is how they would fight a fire, is that they would have to position those vehicles in our four-state highway that passes along the eastern boundary of the property. And while that happens with other properties that exist, as a planning and zoning commission, we're trying to improve the health and safety of our community. We're not trying to repeat errors of the past. So again, for that reason, I support the lack of safety and concern there. Another concern that some might debate, but I still believe that we've heard about increased potential for flooding associated with the stormwater system, and from a safety point of view, if there's any type of increased flooding that it happens on an adjacent property or the property to the south in that parking lot, and or shading caused by the building, and then you have snow melt, thawing, and freezing where the customer parking lot is going to ice up. There's a number of serious injuries that happen with icing conditions that I feel this proposed development would exacerbate. for reasons that haven't been adequately addressed. Again, no alternatives to the intensity and scope of this project to try to mitigate any of these concerns. And then, this other point I'm thinking, I don't know if it's it is such a major point, but think about it. There's no open space on this property. It's like you had said, there's no space for people to collect their thoughts, but more importantly, there's no space for pets to do their business. And I know that doesn't sound too enlightening, but the answer we received from the applicant is, well, they'll just do what everybody else does in a city environment. But, which means if the pet has to go on the public sidewalk that goes down the highway, that we're going to expect that the tenants are going to be good citizens and pick it up. And I'm sure most of them will. But the thing is that that's not our existing condition. That's not helping the health and the environment in our community, combined with the fact that we're going to lose a large amount of trees, and we're going to have increased pervious area, and research shows, and if anybody needs the references, there's books published on this, that any project of this size and scope and intensity will degrade the water quality in the area, and with the removal of those trees, they will degrade the air quality in the area. So combine that's the health aspect of it, but more importantly, the safety aspect of it with the references I provided is why I'm in support of your motion.
Thank you. Yep.
If I may, I need to note for the record that you have in your packet the correspondence, which is considered the report from the Inland Wetlands Watercourses Agency. They met on February 8th. This application was for a Class C permit. It was denied. And there are several reasons that they gave, but that is noted for the record.
That's basically the decision of the.
All right,
state people.
Move to vote.
Second? If we need a
No,
second.
No, I
I'm just
think-
moving to vote.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So move to vote in favor of the motion to deny the application without prejudice.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 5B,
That's been tabled? or-
table,
Well,
We have-
5B would be removed from the agenda because the hearing is in recess.
5C.
C. We're doing 5C, right?
You have correspondence?
Yeah.
So we have correspondence.
You have
Want me
correspondence?
to read it before we do correspondence, or?
Yeah, why
gonna
don't
read
you
it?
read it? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, make sure.
Site plan application, Cisco Connecticut LLC, proposing an access driveway connected to County Line Drive in Cromwell, Connecticut, a guard shack and truck parking area for property located at 1355 Cromwell Avenue and 100 Inwood Road, Rock Hill, Connecticut, in a BP2 Business Park Zoning District ID 20-009.
Okay, there is correspondence on the table this evening that I received today from Peter Parent, an engineer on the project, asking that this be tabled. This application is currently also before the Cromwell Planning and Zoning Commission, and we have done referrals to both towns. They have referred to us, and we've referred to them. They believe that the Cromwell application will have some major modifications, so they're asking that this item be tabled.
Motion to table.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, it's tabled. Item 5D.
Site plan application, Town of Rock Hill proposing an open space remediation and redevelopment plan, including parking, access driveway, and pad site for barn, with associated site improvements for property located at 374 New Britain Avenue in an R40 residential zoning district, ID 12-040.
John Yike, environmental professional from Zuvik. I'm also with me is Dan Vill. He's a civil engineer, also from Zuvik. We're working for the town on this project. I'll let the screen come down and goodbye. All right, so the former Straska Farm property at 374 New Britain Avenue, which is owned by the town, is proposed for environmental remediation and reuse into primarily open space. See if I can advance these without screwing them up. Cool. All right, so on this sheet, I just briefly want to touch on the wetlands mapping and the EH&S controls. The remediation or reuse will follow on other sheets. So there's wetlands basically on the eastern and southern portions of the site. Basically, the wetlands are maps, over here on the eastern portion of the site and along the river. Actually, it's like a stream, small stream. So there's, adequate silt fence, downgrading of the working area up here, which we'll talk about shortly. Anti-tracking pad, your typical E&S controls. Just want to point out that these plans were approved by the Open Space Commission last week. All right, so this next sheet right here, this shows the proposed remediation. So there's 7 small little areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 6 very small areas. They're impacted by petroleum or lead or pesticides. Remediation is proposed for these 6. We're talking a small amount of soil remediation, basically the size of like parking spots. Up here by the house, this is a larger area. We got about 300 cubic yards of material which is going to be coming out of here and is going to be excavated and taken off-site for disposal. That's, around where the house used to be. There's a stockpile area down here. If the contractor chooses a stockpile, they can live load or stockpile. It's outside of like the wetlands and the upland review area. There's also this snail, I'm going to call this a snail. This snail-shaped feature right here is the arsenic cover area. This area is going to be covered with at least 1 foot of clean fill. The area may receive some material during site regrading to support the proposed site redevelopment. So the next sheet, Dan will cover the next sheet, and which is for the proposed reuse of the site. I did want to point out before that, though, the proposed reuse, there's a barn pad site, gravel driveway, parking lot, the grading. It was developed based upon an architectural concept that was approved by the Land Acquisition and Farmland Reservation Committee, and those also reviewed by the town.
Good evening, I'm Dan Vill. I'm a civil engineer and the site designer for this project with Zuvik. In cooperation with the commissions mentioned and town staff, we propose these site improvements. I'm going to zoom in on the corner of the site where the improvements are. Starting at the entrance on New Road, a new gravel driveway with paved apron is proposed to replace the existing. It is 200 feet from the intersection with New Britain Ave, which will allow for improved stopping sight distance. The portion of the drive up to and around this turnaround is graded to allow ample access for emergency vehicles and to allow the turnaround of school buses. A driveway near the former house site is also shown for secondary access. The intent would be strictly for emergencies and maintenance purposes. It also includes a 25-foot paved apron. In the center of the improvements, 9 standard parking spaces and 1 accessible parking space are proposed, with pavement to assure grading at the ADA space. So the accessible parking space will be paved up to a sidewalk, which is also graded to be accessible and provide access to the barn pad site. The trees at the perimeter of the site will be preserved wherever possible. You can see there's no proposed improvements along the majority of New Britain Ave in this area. And landscape areas are graded to collect runoff from their immediate surrounding areas. Stone shoulders are proposed at the edge of the roadway where higher sheet flow velocities can be reasonably expected. And some site features to remain include some wells, some domestic wells, and the existing stone foundations. Wherever possible, they'll be preserved. No site improvements are proposed within the upland review area. But any questions on the proposed improvements?
You can finish your presentation and then.
That's all. Yeah, that's all we have. So I did get handed a memo with some questions from Open Space. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to address those now or.
Yeah, that's to wetlands, so that's to open space, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
No, that was a memo from planning, that was a memo from us. It refers to open space as far as they had taken action, and we have the report now from open space. But there are a few comments about, will both driveways have bituminous driveway aprons? The question about the handicap space, that's being paved, but will the area around that handicap space be paved? Will there be any bike racks on the property? The parking spaces that are provided, will those include parking spaces for the community gardens? The fan shows a pad. Is that for a barn? I assume it's for a barn, having been in those meetings. Will there be a food use? Will sanitary facilities be on site? And are trash receptacles proposed on site?
Okay, so, yeah, you can address those.
Oh, yeah, we
If you
definitely
have
answer stuff. Most of these, anyway.
So yes, bituminous aprons are shown for both driveways. The pavement is strictly for the ADA space. One of the intents was to minimize the impervious area coverage, impervious coverage on the lot. So the pavement is just for ADA grading. The bike rack comment is noted. There's no owner's rep here to make that decision.
Yeah, we haven't discussed that with the town, whether they wanted bike racks or not. Same thing with trash receptacles.
Regarding parking for the community gardens, it was discussed that parking for the community gardens would be along the side of the gravel road closer to the gardens, should that be necessary. Those gardens are not part of these proposed improvements on this plan.
So the initial thought was parking, along the gravel road closest to the gardens.
And there's no building proposed in these plans. That pad is for future construction.
I believe the town is working separately through a grant to get some sort of prefab structure to be placed on the barn pad site.
So as shown, to answer the question regarding facilities and food prep, that would be a no.
Thank you. All right, I'll open up questions. Commissioner Zarelli?
A couple questions about the sheet right here that you have up. So we're doing all this, but what is it for? What's the connection to the rest of the property? I mean, I see roads existing to exist, existing road to remain. Is this just to improve the corner as a phase one of a multi-phase approach to the property? Or are we missing like the connection? Is there gonna be a walkway around the property? Is there gonna be something else that we park here and do elsewhere on the property?
So, good question. Yeah, I wish the town rep was here for that, but the rest of the site currently is leased out to farmers. Yes, this is just for this portion of the site, the northwest portion of the sites. There is a architectural design that I believe had some walking trails through parts of this portion of the site, and I believe also other portions of the sites. So yeah, this is just the beginning stages of this portion of the site. So,
I can maybe offer some preliminary thoughts. The town has talked about possibly using it as an educational type center. That's a possibility, and these are all possibilities, working with the Board of Education with respect to like a VOAG type program down the road. And that's probably why the building hasn't been finalized yet. I know they've been talking about using it as a barn type facility for more educational type programs.
So there is a DECD grant for the remediation on the property and also to do some of this grading, this preliminary work. So that's what this is falling under, so.
Okay, that makes more sense then. As we talk about the remediation, we've in the past talked about remediation and capping and so much stuff. So when you guys put these, not you, but I mean, as the contaminated soil is stockpiled and everything else, is there like a capping plan like you would for a dump or something like that? Or is it being taken off site? Is it stuff being trucked in to counteract these stockpiles? What's gonna happen with the actual contamination on site?
So the 7 smaller areas, the soil is going to be dug out, it's going to be taken off-site and properly disposed. Those excavations are going to be backfilled with clean fill. That's the scoop with these 7 smaller areas. The arsenic is actually, it's a naturally occurring, arsenic is natural, like your metals naturally occurring in the environment. They just happen to be higher on this site. The bedrock's very shallow. So as a protective measure, we're just capping that arsenic where it's higher in the surface. Most of the higher concentrations are deeper in the soil, but in this specific area in the middle here, there are some higher concentrations that are near the surface. So as a protective measure, and talking with the town, we're basically putting 1 foot of clean fill on top of that so that, no one's going to dig into it. Kids aren't going to start playing in it. So that's basically a
So it's not like a
protective measure.
DEP capping plan?
It is
or-
not. Since it's a background condition, there actually is no official obligation to take care of that, but just as an additional protective measure, since this is for the town, and there will be people out there, we're capping that area.
I have other questions, but they're probably going to be asked, so I'll just let go.
Thank you for sharing your question.
Spread the wealth.
In this area that you're going to cap, is that going to involve removing trees? Because if you're filling around a tree, I'm not 100% sure how much fill can you put around a tree before you actually kill it?
I think the arsenic would kill it first.
There are some trees in this area.
There are already arsenic trees.
I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure what we thought about that too much. I mean, it's 1 foot, so there are going to be some cut and fill as part of the redevelopment, which is going to be more. I'm not sure I have a good answer for that, sorry.
Okay. You're showing the existing home there. That was removed. Did that have a sewer to the MDC, or was that a septic system?
It did, according to the prior owner, there was a septic on sites. We sampled at the septic area. We didn't find much in the way of impact, but yes, there was an on-site septic out there. There was also even an outhouse there back in the day, so.
So the leaching fields were tested?
Yes, I did sample specifically in where we was understand as the leaching fields would be, yes.
So
For the
was
owner.
there a tank that got removed?
There was no specific tank that got removed, no, no.
What about the wells? Was the water tested in the wells?
The water was tested in the drilled well, and everything came out fine, so that was not an issue. The dug well, we didn't actually test the dug well because we found the dug well afterwards. If you remember, there was a lot of stuff on this property, so we didn't actually find the dug well until after a lot of that stuff was removed, so we didn't actually test it. But there aren't any plans to currently use the water for those wells, but the dug well they wanted to keep just maybe as a feature, aesthetic feature. Try to preserve some stuff out there, like some of the walls, some of the stone. So they wanted to keep the dug well. We did initially propose to get rid of the drilled well, but we were told to hang tight on that. So they're being kept for now. I'm not quite sure what the future use is going to be for those.
Do you know how deep they are?
The dug wells, actually, the drilled well is supposedly 80 feet, according to the owner. It is in rock. The dug well, I believe it was like 10 feet to water. I don't recall the actual depth of the dug well, but I'm guessing it's not that much further than maybe 15 feet, something like that.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Shahasi?
Are we allowed to comment on agenda items?
You're lucky.
That's- How nice.
Today's a lucky
So,
day.
Nancy, you can. Yeah, correct. There is an existing curb cut and you're adding another one. Any signage you're putting in there to kind of denote or designate entrance, egress, however it might be, so there's no confusion?
Now, are we talking about New Road or New Britain Ave?
One or the other, whichever.
So the driveway on New Road is to be relocated. That is the entrance near the entrance closer to New Britain Ave is to be abandoned, blocked off. It's too close to the intersection to be safe. So this one will be moved away from the intersection. There are, I think, 3 existing curb cuts on New Britain Ave, and this one is a. Is this where the house cut is now, or is this a new location?
I believe it's a new location.
I think this one is a new location. So the town will have to go through the process of getting a new curb cut with the DOT.
They didn't want to, there's an existing foundation over here that they didn't want demolished, so we had to take the road up to a new curb cut. There were some grading issues
And-
up there,
and so
the
you-
steepness of the grade.
So you asked about signage. Specifically, were you looking for something?
Well, either one, just so if someone is told to go to this area, are you just saying head for one of the curb cuts that's close to the intersection of New Britain Ave and New Road? Or do you anticipate some kind of signage that, I know there might not be an actual address for it, but signage to denote where you're headed? I mean, you have parking spots, so people are going to be heading there for parking. I just didn't know if you anticipate having anything there.
That was not requested by the commissions or the staff that we spoke to.
The address is 374 New Britain Avenue.
374. So that would be for one on New Britain Ave, not New Road with a curb cut. Okay. All set, thank you.
Mr. Lego?
I don't really have much to add. My initial question, which I just answered myself, was what to do about the seepage, the potential water seepage coming from New Britain Avenue down to the parking lot. But I see you have a swale at the top of the slope to intercept. That's for intercepting water that might come
Are you talking about New Britain Ave at the top of the driveway or upgrade from the parking area?
Upgrade from the parking.
Okay. So, yeah, the swale is intended to collect water from flowing quickly down the proposed, I think that's a 3-to-1 slope. I would also note that the area up gradient of that swale is wooded and to remain wooded where possible.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I had.
It's kind of interesting here. Your remediation areas are about as small as I've ever seen, but we know why. They probably exist because they probably follow some old vehicle that was stuck in that location. Is this project large enough in scope that it's being been reported to and managed by the Connecticut DEP, and does it require an LSP?
As part of getting the DECD Brownfields grant, it does have to go into the voluntary remediation program. So it is in that program. I'm the LAP of record on the site for this. So yeah, there are, there's a series of reporting steps that we have to follow. So.
Yeah. And then the other thing of interest here, though, is that the largest area of contamination shown on the map, I believe, is this lead contaminant area that seems to be adjacent to the 2 wells on the property. What's the source of the lead?
The source of the lead is actually the house that was out there. The house and the 2 barns that were out there had quite a bit of lead paint on the exterior of them. Okay. So, we went through a whole hazardous building materials assessment before those structures were removed. And yeah, there was a lot of lead-based paint on those.
Yeah, so that's not as likely to leach into
No, that's
the
what
groundwater.
happened. That's how the soils around the house got contaminated with that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. So.
But it would take a long time for it to get 80 feet down to groundwater. I don't know about the open one, but.
I'll tell you that all of these remediation areas, including the one by the house, we're only proposing to dig down to 2 feet. So we've sampled all these, that's the contaminations in the shallow soils, and it hasn't got to the deeper soils. So, especially around the house, I probably collected 40 to 50 samples around the house itself, just to get a really good handle of the extent of the impact there. So it is just to the shallow soils.
And then the only other question I have is that dug well adequately capped so it's not a safety hazard?
It currently there is both the dug well and the structure around the drilled well. Yeah, we had when they did the demo out here, they put in a piece of steel basically capping both of those. So they are currently capped, and it is currently a safety hazard. Someone's going to fall down it. But good question.
Over to you, Nancy.
So there's only one pad that was for the barn, is that?
Yeah, one barred.
But what about, are they thinking possibly another pad for a restroom? You're gonna have kids in there, they're gonna go to the bathroom all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't actually discussed that with the town, so that would make sense to have some sort of bathroom facilities, yeah. Yep.
It's almost like if you're gonna put one pad in, put another one in for the restrooms.
Phase 2.
And will you have enough, parking for buses and things like that? Just curious.
So this is actually something that was talked about quite a bit with the architect in the town, was how are we going to handle bus traffic on the site here? So yes, buses, is proposed for buses to come, and that's why we have this roundabout feature. I'm assuming this is still on your screen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Here's the roundabout feature for buses to come in and turn around. And, the thought is for most of the traffic, if not all the traffic, to come in and out from New Road. So that's why this feature was made here, so buses could turn around. And I know Dan did the calculations to make sure a bus could turn around there. So,
And will they park on the side of that road, that internal road?
where would the bus park? That's a good question. Did that?
Not part of this.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
just,
That's phase 6, 7, and 8.
We need the whole thing, where we're going in the future, where we are.
Phases. You only see phase one.
No worries.
Okay.
I don't think we specifically
just
figured out
curious.
exactly where the bus would be, but there should be enough. That road is what, 25 feet wide, the gravel road?
The road is 20 feet wide, so it can accommodate a couple
Yeah,
of buses
that's
and
fine.
one-way traffic.
Thank you, that's it.
Okay, well, Ron took my question, so I don't, I'm just teasing. Is there any time frame on when this would all be done? That's basically all I really have.
Yeah, once we're through permitting, the project will have to be bid out. So, we were initially hoping to try to get this work done in late winter. I think right now we're probably looking sometime in the spring. So, once we get through the permitting, there's gonna be a bid package working with the town to bid out the job and get the work completed in a couple of months. So I'm guessing at this point it'll be sometime in the spring, maybe early summer to get this done.
Okay, and I'm assuming we'll be seeing you again about 3 or 4 months after that for additional phases, or? Are you gonna be
That'll
involved in
depend
that?
upon the town, what they want to do, so.
All right.
This is the only phase that we're working on at the moment, yeah. And again, it's connected to the DECD grant, so.
Okay, that's it for me.
So the question I have, and I understand this is not under regular remediation standards, RSRs, but
Oh, actually,
I-
it is.
it is,
under RSRs,
like,
yes, it is.
okay, it's a LEP site,
Yeah.
okay. So with 1 foot clean fill, if I was doing, or if you were doing like regular remediation, if you're putting clean fill, you'll have ELUR, for example. In this instance, would there be any markings or anything like that so that people don't start digging and, because 1 foot is, you can, couple of shovels and you have, contaminated soil. So any markings, any protective indicators or anything like that?
Good question. Yeah, obviously, if we were trying to do an engineered control, I know where you're going with this, an engineered control or an inaccessible soil like ELUR. Yeah, we would have to do some sort of markings to show where it is out there physically, also a specific survey. That's something we can definitely add. It isn't in there currently right now, but that is a good protective measure. So, that's something we can, that makes good sense, definitely.
Right, because after 5-10 years, nobody will remember where the things are and,
Yep.
so if you can add those and maybe, I don't know, maybe having some sort of a plaque that shows the area and says, hey, this and that, so people have something, and it will stay there forever. Even though you may have markings and stuff, you have something that people can see.
Yeah, and we can follow
Crossbones.
the snail. Yeah, no, that makes sense, because obviously with an ELUR, you're supposed to have it posted.
Right.
You're supposed to have the fact sheet along with the survey, so that makes sense to have that shown somewhere, yes. Gotcha.
I think that's about it. I don't have any other questions.
Just concerned, like, you're doing it during the spring, I'm assuming as part of your procedures, you have dust control and all that other stuff?
Yes, that is, that is in the plans, it's also in the technical specifications to do.
And is there an third-party monitoring, or is it just the town, who monitors, like, dust control and the trucks going on and off the site? Is that you, because you're the engineer of record, or?
I mean, it's going to be on the contractor, obviously, but yeah, we're going to be doing environmental inspection and some construction inspection, yeah, as part of this, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure the town will be actively out there too, watching what's going on, so.
Yeah, probably you'll have the pad and all that
Yeah.
at the entrance, yeah.
Grand open.
We do have in the wetlands report that were approved for a Class B permit. That's in your packet this evening.
Is there ample topsoil on the property for you to use, or do you have to truck it in? Because, I mean, you're going to have to take topsoil out of the proposed road entrance. You got to bring it down to subbase.
There's going to be some cutting and filling on the site. I'm assuming the filling will outpace the amount that we're going to be cutting. So yeah, there's going to be material brought on the site. We assume that offhand, without any cutting, that we'd be covering all the arsenic area with material brought in from off-site, so. And there's definitely going to be material brought on for, the sub-base, for the gravel ways, so there's going to be material brought on site, definitely.
I just wasn't, okay, I'm good.
One last question. Because it's also in the spring now, the farmers who actually are going to farm the land, are they going on that entrance on the other side of the property? Or you have like a quote-unquote construction entrance and a farmer's entrance to the property? Or how is the interaction with what you're proposing to what the farmers have to deal with in getting their crops ready?
So there's an existing road that is to remain here, and we've been keeping these roads open the whole time whenever we've been doing work out there, but we're finding that the farmers are actually entering on another portion of the site somewhere far to the east. There's another entrance that they've been using. They've rarely been actually entering this, the other part of the property here from New Road and this northwest corner of the site, so. But yeah, that is part of, that is actually part of the technical specifications to maintain a passage so that they can go through, yes.
And I don't know if this is for you or for staff. Once this phase one is done, is this for, are we saying that the farmers can't come through this way and this is for non-farm use, this area, and the farmers have to go the other way? Or is it just going to be an open site like it is now?
So, yeah, they'll still be able to access through this part of the site. It will be open,
Okay.
so that's one thing. They aren't going to be farming on this part of the site.
But they can go through it to get to where they gotta go?
Yeah, they can get through it. There's actually a gate, there's actually a gate down here that kind of goes between the two parcels, but that the town installed, so.
So just a follow-up question on that. So farmers, I don't know what they do with the chemicals that they bring in for, fertilizer and stuff like that. So would that be all through that common driveway? And I don't know what the best practices are for bringing chemicals. Is it liquid chemicals, solid, granular? We don't know. We want to make sure that we are not recreating this scene again, in 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So in terms of, as he was saying, maybe keeping separate entry and exit and things like that so that it doesn't contaminate the area. And also what happens when they farm, would the, visits be open to, public? Because I understand when they spray, they have a notice like, hey, there is a fertilizer spraying and all that, and they try to keep people away. Any thoughts on those things? Having farming activity as well as general public activity ongoing at the same time?
I mean, luckily the stuff they use nowadays is a little different than the nasty stuff they used to use, like your DDT, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be farming, on the other side of the stream over here.
Because they'll be dragging the mud and all that through the tractors or whatever, so you will see those things mixing in. And in 10 years, now you have 6 inches, a foot of stuff,
Is that a bigger question for the town in general, as far as putting restrictions on the farmers who use the land? It seems like.
That's what I was saying, is it the staff, or is it the, we need to have is it?
I think there is a scheduling thing. I know that when they first started farming, there were some concerns about the pesticides, and I think there was a understanding that the farmers do notify the town when they do that.
I think it's maybe while you guys are looking at it from environmental perspective, you would know better if what they bring in and what they're using it, and if the tractors is dragging mud and stuff on your new roads, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in the last, 2, maybe it's 3 years now that the town's owned the property, there's very little evidence of them using this road going through there. There's no ruts like there used to be with the old farmer. It's pretty evident that they're using the other entrance. So I haven't seen much damage or anything like that from what the current farmers are doing. So,
But something to think about, just make sure that those are addressed and, somehow, whether it's by town or whatever.
Just have one quick question.
Yep.
Was there, did you test the whole property? Because it looks like everything is east of this proposed road.
Phase 2.
Was there limits to what you tested, like limits to the area you were testing?
the majority of the testing we did was in this upper northwest portion of the sites. Before the town purchased the property, there was some testing out in the farm fields, in the actual farm fields themselves for pesticides and herbicides and other things you might find on a farm property.
Because his equipment was scattered through the whole property. It wasn't isolated to the area that you found oils.
Yeah, the majority, you're right, it was throughout the entire property, and there were hundreds of vehicles and stuff. We focused mainly on this portion of the sites, because that's where the majority of the items were. And the other areas, we focused on the farm fields. So, for purposes of redevelopment, we were asked to focus mostly on this area.
Yeah, this application pertains only to the area that you're showing us there, correct?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so regardless of.
So there was just limits to what they're.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
I mean, with all the stuff out there, it was, we could have collected thousands and thousands of samples, but whether that was feasible, made sense.
All right, thank you. So Kim, this is just a motion to recommend or?
No, it's an application.
No, this is an application.
Okay, so we'll,
Motion to approve site plan application, Town of Rocky Hill proposing an open space remediation and redevelopment plan for 375 New Britain Avenue and an R40 residential zoning district.
can I have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'll take it.
Good work with your stuff.
We're on to any other business now, right?
Yeah, so I think E is covered.
I think we should just discuss the status of where we're going to go with this, because everything's been kind of vague.
Yeah, I think it's, we are still looking at the legal opinion, right? So,
I have asked for the legal opinion. I forwarded on to Steve Sopelak, the department head, as well as Ray Carbentino, and the town attorney. So we're still waiting.
The thing is, your email of September 29th, you say the plan being approved as a minor modification. Was it approved, or is that still pending?
No, this was, you're reading correctly, that was in September, but there was a legal opinion that was requested allegedly in December, and then was followed up on in January, because there was nothing done for the December meeting, that the commission wanted to say, okay, if this happened in September, can we as a commission now take it and take up the cause and bring it back to the commission? So that's what was asked.
Well, I guess the question I have then is, if it was approved in September, and I lost my note about, according to our zoning regulations, we're supposed to be advised at the next regular meeting of any minor modifications.
I think it was at some point, there was something in your packet. I don't have that information with me tonight.
Well, I checked all the minutes, and it was not mentioned in any of the minutes.
There was something in the packet. That part I do know, because the packets are online, so, but that's part of the legal opinion. That's all, it's all in there, and that will be reported at your next meeting by Dave Pomberg.
Okay. Well, the point is, and it's a moot point at this point, but according to the zoning regulations, if there are any minor modifications, we're supposed to be advised at the next regular meeting, and none of those have been reflected in any of the minutes. Just about every minutes from August through December, under minor modifications, it said no discussion. So that's what, and, things have gone by now for 3 or 4 months. We have no idea of the magnitude or what was actually involved in any minor modifications that have been approved outside this commission. So I think if we could get at the next meeting a total summary of everything that's been approved from when they first started discussing this.
I'll state on the record now, I will not be at the next meeting or the April meeting due to a medical leave. Okay. Just so you know, but I can certainly pass that on to
Okay, that's what I
others that
wanted.
will be in attendance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 6A.
Zoning enforcement, currently, just so the commission is aware, Dave Pomberg is now, his title is Environmental Specialist and Land Surveyor, sitting in for staff. He's serving as staff in the Wetlands Commission. Bob Alvarado has retired effective the end of January. So, and they do have the job out for Assistant Planner, Zoning Enforcement Officer. They just put that out just now, so.
All right.
Dave will have to be.
You want it? Is it a full-time
Dave
job?
has to be doing double duty for a while. Maybe Strong wants to do it.
I can use next money.
Oh, Sean, you're saying Sean?
What? Wait, what? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
But I would ask that, and I did talk to Ray Carpentino about this, I did talk to Steve Sopelak about this. The commission can authorize someone to act as a acting zoning enforcement officer, and I'm recommending that you do that for Dave Pomberg in the interim.
Okay.
Is that a paid position?
No, it's strictly
Then
entitled, right now it's entitled.
I pick Sean to do it.
So is that a motion, or is that just a recommendation? What is it?
I would ask that a motion be made and seconded and discussed if need be, and acted on,
Motion to.
at least for a temporary basis.
Motion on a temporary basis to accept Mr. Palmberg as acting zoning enforcement officer.
Here we go.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Good luck.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, aye. Any
Thank you.
opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Palmer.
I'm sure you knew it was coming.
Item 6B.
Minor mod, 400 Capitol Boulevard. 2 electrical vehicle charging stations up against the building in the area by the handicap parking spots. There's a Mylar plan over by Mr. Lecco for signature.
All right.
We don't have,
Pardon?
we don't have any.
Okay. 400 Capitol Boulevard is a very large building with an expansive parking lot, and they actually did an addition to the parking lot years ago, so.
Yeah. Item C, Plan Implementation Committee.
We had a meeting on February 1st. At that meeting, we had members of the Housing Authority kind of introduce themselves and tell us what's up with the Housing Authority. We did discuss the Affordable Housing Plan briefly. We talked about putting that on the next agenda for an ordinance for creation of the Affordable Housing Committee and setting up the Affordable Housing Committee. As a matter of fact, this evening I was sitting in the back of the room when they had the Commission on Inclusion and Equity, I believe is the name of the commission. And I got up under public under that meeting to talk about the Affordable Housing Committee and see if they wanted to have a member represented, which would be certainly appropriate on that Affordable Housing Committee. We also talked about bikeways. Steve Sopelak presented the different types of bikeways, whether it be just share the road signs like we have right now on Old Main Street, a portion of Old Main Street, whether they be sharrows on the road, whether they be painted bike lanes. So he kind of presented that, at least on a preliminary basis. That will be taken up at a subsequent meeting. We also talked about the sidewalk ordinance and how that needs to be modified for sidewalk waivers for non-residential developments. Currently, in the town ordinances, they have waivers included for sidewalks in subdivisions. If it's not a commercial subdivision and strictly one commercial property, and for some reason they're waiving the sidewalks, funds cannot be set aside into an account. The ordinance does talk about a sidewalk fund. It's a separate fund per the ordinance, but in the budget process, the sidewalk is in a line item in a specific fund. It's a line item, it's not a separate fund. So we're going to try to get that into its own fund per the sidewalk ordinance. So the next meeting will be in April, and the commission, or the Plan Implementation Committee, does set aside their agenda, and they want to talk about that Affordable Housing Committee. That's the main item. We also have at that meeting, we have members of Sustainable RH, which is a spinoff of Sustainable CT, and we'll be working closely with them as well.
So I think, do we have
Temple
to?
or Victor wanted to add.
Yeah,
to that.
do we have to send anything on ordinances, like for sidewalk?
That would be going to the town council.
That's going, right? So I just want to make sure if you
Yeah.
guys need us from our commission, send
Yeah.
something.
That will
But
go
if
to the
not,
town.
it's-
That will go to the town council. I've also, we need to get an update, and Steve Sobel asked about update on Complete Streets. The
Mhm.
Complete Streets, the draft policy went to the council back in November. I know they're into budgets now, so I don't know if that's going to be addressed at this time, but that reminder has gone to them as well.
All right, thank you. Legislation?
No, I would just want to point out that the commission does have to do their 4 hours of land use training, so we're setting up a small spreadsheet to keep track of what people are doing. Nancy has signed up for the Connecticut Bar Association training, which is in here. We ask that if you go to some training that requires funds, you pay, you let us know that you're going. After the training, submit proof that you've been in attendance or have attended, and we will reimburse you. The Connecticut Land Use Academy is a free way to get land use training credits. And also, I have, in a conversation with Temple and I talked today, and I had sent something over to CROG, the Regional Planning Agency, to see if we could do regional training, maybe get towns together to be trained, have commission members, planning and zoning and ZBA get together and be trained by regional entities, also network with other towns to see what other towns are doing. So I'm waiting for an answer on that.
And selfies aren't good for proof that you win.
No.
With the sign. Okay.
All right, communications. I don't have any.
I'd say no.
Approve bills, I think we have one bill.
One bill.
Motion to approve bills.
The planimetric.
There was one
Yeah, the planimetric,
final
yeah.
bill. Planimetric bill, can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.